Okay. My name is Hernandez. I study apologetics. It's a passion I have. I don't necessarily consider myself a philosopher and apologist by any means, but it's a passion that grew in me, particularly because I remember a few years back when I attended San Jacinto, I went to these roundtable discussions, what they called them, that the philosophy department would hold, and we'd get extra credit if you went to these roundtable discussions. And it was usually over religion. They'd have the 4 major religions, and they'd each ask a question, and they would answer accordingly. Well, I remember one of the first ones I went to, they had an atheist, a Muslim, I think a Buddhist, and a Christian. And the Christian that they had was, she was a female that was an evangelist for 40 years. She was an evangelist. That was her occupation. That's what she knew all her life. She wasn't a trained apologist. She wasn't a philosopher. So when they would ask certain questions, she would answer accordingly on her views on evangelism and what she knows from the Bible. And the way it was set up, she was towards the beginning of the panel, and the atheist was at the end. And one of the questions I remember being asked was something to the extent of, what role does religion have in our society? And when she was asked the question, of course, as an evangelist, he said, well, as an evangelist, we've done hospitals, we've helped the poor, we've gone overseas to countries, we've helped people out, we've done all these benevolent things. And then when it got to the atheist and they asked him, what role does religion have in our society? He said, it shouldn't have any role. I don't need God to be good. I don't need God to know what to do right and whatnot. We don't need religion, and if you need a God to tell you to do good, then you're not doing good for the right reason. And of course, just made the Christian's answer look totally ridiculous. And I sat there kind of upset, not because I believed he was right, but because I believed that God wasn't properly being defended. And I don't blame the evangelist, because she wasn't a trained philosopher. She wasn't an apologist, and I didn't really know much about this at the time, but it sparked something in me to study for myself these things. So I just thought to myself, I want to know these answers myself. I want to know how to answer this if I'm confronted with this. So I began to study myself.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Religion and Ethics Roundtable. This is the first time that I've actually held a roundtable here at UHLA, and I'm excited about that. The roundtable is something that I've been doing since 2005, and we talk about various topics: politics, religion, ethics. And I must admit that the topics, they are controversial, but I think that it's important to have conversations, discussions about these topics. I think we could start off with this first question. The first question is religion necessary for morality and ethics? Does objective morality exist, or is it all subjective and relative? Is there value to human life and rights, and if so, why should we regard it as such?
Well, to answer the first part of the question, no, I don't think that religion and morality are married with each other. I think that one can exist without the other. Just because God, if you believe in a God or the God, desires you to be good, doesn't obligate you to be good. And I think that you can just be good for goodness sake. It's an intrinsic value, if you will. I think there's a presumption that if you're a non-believer, you'll be punished. Well, if that's true, then there's really no reason to be moral. As an atheist, I could run around cheating, lying, stealing, whatever, and not have any punishment for that necessarily here on earth. But I think that religious people believe that if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell, and that's their their way of marrying morality and ethics together. Or objective, I think that morals are definitely subjective and relative. If they were absolute, or if they were objective, I don't think that we would evolve beyond where we were, where we are, etc. If we, didn't evolve more morally, we would still believe that slavery was okay. We would believe that, slavery of blacks or slavery of anybody else was okay. But we evolved beyond that morally, and I think if you believe that morals are objective, then that could not have happened. And yes, I think there is a value to human life and to human rights. That there's a sense of decency and a sense of love that we need to have for each other that I don't think needs to be based in any religious container, if you will. And I think that, you know, morality is just a set of principles that we live by, and it helps us live with each other and live, hopefully, in a peaceful way with each other.
My background, I was a practicing Roman Catholic priest at one time. That was for 20 years. So I felt like I had a good understanding. And I could notice a great difference in motivation and how I ran my life before versus how I run it today. But I think for me, as an atheist, was and I think it's necessary for me to believe that God, that's for me. I think that anyone is an individual. Okay, understand.
I believe that morality, we try to talk ourselves into believing that morality is tied into being with our religious beliefs. But when it comes down to it, it's all about happiness and trying to make ourselves happy. So if your morality is going against our own happiness, it's saying, oh, well, that's my religion, that's what I believe in. I can't go against that or I'll go to hell. So being a deist, I just believe in God and not really set path of religion. It's easier for you to say, okay, well, my morality and my ethics are my morality and my ethics. It's just what I believe. It's not what someone told me to believe. It's not what someone wrote in books for me to believe. But it's what I feel is right. And it doesn't have to be subjective or relative. It could just be exactly that. It's your morality. It should have to be, okay, well, I'm going to say us children, but us as women can go. No, it's all about what you believe is right, what you believe is wrong. And of course, there's human life is exactly that. So you shouldn't put yourself above anyone else, but at the same time, if you're in danger and they're in danger, and you have to see what makes you happy, saving someone else's life or saving your own life. And then it's just that it's all comes down to eternal happiness and are you happy with yourself?
Thank you. Eric?
I heard a saying once, I feel like a mosquito at a nudist colony, I don't know where to start. Lori brought up, and I'm actually thrown back and a little surprised even that I don't know too many atheists that admit there is no objective morality. And I like to break down these terminologies, objective and subjective. What objective means is that this morality is binding to everybody, everywhere, at any time, at any place. That is to say that even if during World War II that the Nazis would have succeeded in conquering the entire world, if morality is subjective, then that would logically follow that if morality is subjective, then if the Nazis would have brainwashed everybody and succeeded in World War II, it would then be okay, morally okay, subjectively, to kill Jewish people. I'm not saying she believes that by all means. I'm saying by her logic, by saying there is no objective morality. That is to say that there are some things that are okay. It just depends on who you ask. If I were to ask Jeffrey Dahmer, who was a rapist and a murderer and a cannibal who ate people, if I were to ask him, do you think this is okay? And he would say yes. I would say, well, if morality is all subjective, then by your standard, I'd have to say that's just my opinion that it's not okay. Once again, I don't want to confuse anybody. I'm not trying to say that atheists are murderers, rapists. I'm not trying to say that. But I'm saying if you logically follow what that's saying, that there is no objective morality, that it's all subjective, in other words, it's just somebody's taste, then you can't judge anybody or hold anybody accountable to any kind of morality at all. If I say you shouldn't rape or kill little babies, you say, well, hold on, that's just your opinion, that's subjective. If there was an alien race that came and took over and started to rape us and put us to slavery, and we said, you can't do that. And they say, well, why? Your morality is just a product of evolution. That's how you evolve. That's not how we evolve. Sucks for you. We're stronger than you. We can do what we want. I'm sorry, your morality is subjective. There is no objective morality. With that being said, I do believe that without God, there is no basis for morality. I'm sorry to be the one to be provocative and start to stimulate the debate, but There is no basis for morality without God. There is the torturers of communist regimes would often say, I'm glad there is no God, because I can do whatever I want and get away with it. I believe it's a Russian philosopher, Deist, once said, if there is no God, everything is permitted. If no one's, another story if I can recount, during the Holocaust, there was a Nazi soldier, as he was forcing this older man to dig his grave. He was digging the grave and he looked at the soldier and said, "Sir, God is watching you." And the Nazi soldier laughed and shot him in the head, and he fell in his own grave that he dug. The point being, what Hitler didn't believe, what Mao didn't believe, what all these atheistic regimes did not believe, that there was no power higher than their own. They did not believe anybody was watching them. They did not believe there was any consequence to what they were doing. Why? Because morality is subjective. I'm the one with more power. I'm the one with more authority. If I believe it's okay, you have no say in the matter. And because of this way of thinking, they were able to wake up one morning and exterminate 9 million Jews and didn't think there was anything logically inconsistent with that. Why? Because they were in power. And if that's the case, to this older gentleman that was killed, he wished that these people would have thought that there was a God watching them. He wished that they would have believed that there was something watching them. There was some kind of a finite creator, some kind of a lawgiver given by a moral law, which is God that gave it. If they would have believed, or at least had some kind of notion that they have to answer for their actions even in the next life, I believe they would have done things a little bit different. So yes, I do believe that morality is objective. But if there is objective morality, we need a basis for that. We can't just say, well, I say what's right and what's wrong. Because again, I refer back to Nazi Germany. If they would have succeeded and won World War II, then apparently it would have been okay to kill Jews. I believe human life is valuable. There is intrinsic value to human life because, and not to be theological, but because we're made in the image of God. If we're just a product of accidental biological evolution on some speck of dust in this vast universe, then why should we regard ourselves as special? That would be the logical fallacy, which would be called speciesism, which is to say it's like being egotistical towards your own species. Why not regard the value of rats or dogs or cockroaches? Why? What makes us special? If we just all evolved and we're just all animals, you would be guilty of committing the logical fallacy of speciesism, saying that our species is better than anyone else's. But on an atheist point of view, what makes that true? What makes that not true? What gives us value? Yes, sir.
I think that you find out how atheists would confront them and ask them what they believe, because I would not be masterminding anybody. Sure. And I think that we're all wrong. Well, as far as the basis for behaving, not behaving, is survival. I see it as survival at the core. If there's no God, all of that vast universe, no rationality looking over us and loving, providing for our well-being. Well, history has already shown a lot of good, loving people have not been protected by problems like that. Just the way I was raised, I was raised by God. And so, looking for some other reason, exactly what you're saying, we have no reason for behavior. For me, it turns out it's survival. And I think that being nice to people is more likely to get a nice response. If you continually abuse people, I think you better get ready to get that money back. That's the way society in general works. And old Christianity actually acknowledged the existence of abuse by other people. And its method is to return good, to offset that, not to return, to make more and more evil. Be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. That's one of those things. And therefore, survival, I think it also, it makes us realize, without a God, it makes us realize that we can't wait for some future event to make everything right. When God comes from cloud and majesty and glory, everything's going to be made right. And that is the promise of a lot of religions. And if a person believes that, that's okay. I'm trying to get off the soapbox, trying to convert people, which I have done all my life. But I do have less covertly, less intention. If you spot me trying to convert you, then you say, hey, and I'm like, well, because I think this is a responsibility we as individuals have to have. I can't speak up for anybody else, but nobody else can speak up for me. I got my conscience.
And Richard Dawkins, who was one of the most prominent atheists, one of the four horsemen, said himself that that's all we are is machines to propagate our DNA. That's our sole purpose for survival, is to propagate our DNA. That being said, and again, I'm not saying atheists do this. I don't want you to misconstrue the point. I'm saying there's no basis for it. If it's all for survival, there are atheists that do say that rape is advantageous to evolution because it helps propagate your DNA a lot quicker. That happens in the animal kingdom all the time. We see animals doing that. We see apes doing that to each other. What makes us any different? If we're just animals, let's not commit this logical fallacy of speciesism, which is to have an unjustifiable bias towards one's own species. If we're just trying to have this altruistic morality, which is saying I'm going to be nice because someone else is going to be nice to me. Well, let's again. I go back to what if someone is more powerful than you, has more authority, and is stronger than you, and say, well, I don't have to be nice to you because you can do nothing to me. Even if I am going to be nice to you, I don't care what you do because I'm stronger than you. I can overpower you, and that's exactly what many of the atheist regimes thought in the centuries past. Like Pol Pot and Mao, they were stronger than anybody. Why not kill millions of people if we can get away with it? They said, I thank God that I don't believe in, that I can carry out this evil that's in my heart and get away with it.
I think we all would. I still have to disagree. As a species, if we want to survive, we have to get along with each other. And morality predates religion. Morality predates religion. Once there were 2 humans, 4 humans, 6 humans, you had to get along with each other. Otherwise, you kill each other off or steal each other's, food or what have you. And I object to the term random evolution. Evolution is not random in any sense of the word. It's not random. And I also think that objective morality, if you are tied to that, it doesn't account for cultural differences. What about a country, and I'm just making this up, just hypothetical, a country in Africa where they think it is okay to rape women. How do you account for that morality versus our culture's morality? There isn't an objective morality in that case.
I don't think you're understanding the terminology of subjective and objective. Objective means it is morally binding even if people don't believe it. Again, that's the whole point of objective morality. If the Nazis, again, if they were able to conquer the entire world and brainwash everybody to believe that Jewish people were pigs and not humans, it would still be wrong. That is the point of objective morality.
But by the virtue of it, people not believing it, doesn't that make it subjective because they have their own morality?
Having your own knowledge doesn't make it subjective. Let me give you an analogy. If a colorblind person walked outside and looked at the sky and said the sky was gray, just because that's what he sees and that's what he believes, that does not make the sky gray. The sky is objectively blue. If someone wanted to believe that there was no such thing as gravity and jump off a building, that doesn't invalidate the fact that gravity still exists. Objective truth means it is true no matter who believes it, even if nobody believes it. Truth is not invented, truth is discovered. Same as morality. You say morality predated religion, that would be a totally different argument, totally different roundtable, but I would say in the beginning, God. There was nothing before that. And I can even back that up cosmologically based on science, that there was a beginning to the universe, which is what the first verse of the first chapter of the Bible says. Again, that's another discussion, but objective means it's binding to everybody no matter what they believe. If someone refuses to believe something, that doesn't make it not true. If we were to go back so many years ago and people believed the earth was flat, did that make it flat? If people didn't know about Jupiter or other stars, did that make them non-existent? Of course not, because it was objectively true, which means it was true no matter who believes it.
And all of those things can be proven scientifically.
Sure, and there are some things that can't be proven scientifically, like morality. Again, that's why I say there has to be a basis for it, which I understand you don't agree in objective morality, which, again, I I appreciate you admitting that not too many atheists do, because on the atheist worldview, there is no basis for morality. But again, if that is the case, I can hold nobody accountable to anything that they do wrong, because it is simply their opinion. If we were to go to a culture of, let's say, cannibals, and their morality was, let's do what helps us survive. Let's be nice to each other, but eat everybody else so we can propagate our DNA, because after all, that's what we're here for, right? To propagate our DNA, to expand ourselves. Let's eat everybody else outside our village, be nice to each other. That's our morality. Morality is subjective anyways. Who cares what everybody else thinks? We're stronger, we have more numbers, let's do what we want. How can we condemn that if morality is subjective?
Basically attacking the atheist community, saying that all those mass murderers did this, all the mass murderers did that, when you're forgetting the fact that there's Christians who do sadistic things like that in the name of God. Because the Bible told them to, or they hear God talking to them. So you can't just say that it's one belief system that is doing all these foul things in the world, when she can just easily have the same argument saying that across the world there's somebody right now who is chopping off children's heads because that's what he believes is right, and he read it in the Bible. Because the way you are wording your beliefs right now is saying that subjectivity is what you think it, whatever you want it to be. So I can read the Bible and say, oh, but this verse means that God wants me to go off and eat couches. Then I'm going to eat couches for the rest of my life.
Okay, if that were the case, I have a Bible study every week that can help you with your theology, but that's not the case. The Bible doesn't say eat couches. The Bible doesn't say to go off and do these things.
It's subjective, right? I think so.
But that's exactly. I don't believe there's subjective morality. I believe morality is objective. You talked about believers killing in the name of God. If that is the case, which that is the case, and that's very unfortunate. And if we want to compare, we can see that atheist regimes have killed in the 100 million. Theistic regimes have killed in maybe the thousands. And if I can touch on that, believers killing in the name of God, you will find that this is not something that Christ would agree with. This is not something that God would agree with. He would not. These people that are killing in the name of God are not in harmony with Christianity. You cannot blame rebellious Christians and say that was the result of Christianity. That would be like me going to a math class, having the best professor of math in the world, failing the class and blaming it on the law of arithmetic. I can't blame my faults, my lack of knowledge, my lack of whatever have you, and failing the class and blame it on a law of arithmetic if I don't abide by the law. So a believer that kills in the name of God, you can't blame it on Christianity. You can't blame rebellious Christians on Christianity.
You can't blame mass murderers on just the atheist community itself. It's that one individual.
Well, if you look at the logic, again, if there is no basis for morality, you can't blame anybody for anything. Exactly. If there's a morality, I can't say that someone who rapes is doing wrong because that's just my opinion. I can't hold anybody accountable to it. That's the whole point of objective and subjective morality. If there is something objective, it is binding to everybody, everywhere, no matter what. If that's not the case, we're just evolved primates on this speck of dust in this universe. Who cares what we think? What if there's in another planet, people think rape is okay, or they find it socially evolutionary advantageous to rape because it propagates their genes and DNA a lot quicker, and they think, well, we're stronger, more powerful, let's do it. Again, I'm not simply blaming this on atheists. I'm not saying atheists do this. I'm saying within that philosophy of atheism that there is no basis for morality, everything's permissible. Again, the Russian writer Theist said, if there is no God, all things are permissible.
Liberals have argued that the GOP and the religious right are attempting to erode the reproductive rights of women in this election season. Do you believe that the religious views of conservative politicians and religious institutions are given more power and priority than the rights and needs and interests of women? What moral basis or yardstick should be used to make such decisions, and what is our ethical duty to women?
It's pretty factual that women's reproductive rights are being eroded, slowly but surely. Texas and some other states recently, Texas recently, but other states more in the past, have passed laws that women have to get sonograms, ultrasounds, and in Texas, transvaginal ultrasounds before they can obtain an abortion, which is medically unnecessary in the first trimester. And my answer to that is, why don't we require prostate exams for men who want Viagra or condoms? But that's a whole other And in Arizona, there's a bill before the state Senate that businesses who don't want to cover contraception for women don't have to, and that they can actually fire women who are using contraception for non-medical purposes. And you know about Planned Parenthood. I mean, the governor and Mitt Romney have both been making their attacks on Planned Parenthood. So yeah, there's definitely an erosion and definitely an attack on women's reproductive rights. And I think that conservative politicians do seem to have the market cornered for some reason. And I don't think they should. And I think that we need to get out there and vote so that that doesn't occur. But more importantly, I think that we as voters should have some say in that, especially since most politicians are, white males. I mean, I think that we should be voting on those things to make those decisions. I don't think that we should be allowing a smaller group of people to do that. And what is their moral basis on it? What Eric will probably tell us, we'll see. But I want to know what the yardstick is. I mean, how do you make these decisions when there are so many women, including Republican and conservative women, who disagree with these things? How can they continue to make these decisions that erode our rights? I think our ethical duty is to women first. And even in the case of abortion, I think it's our ethical duty is in the interest of the women, not the unborn fetus. And women make up more than half of the population, so I think that these are important issues for us to vote on and to think about and to consider from every standpoint, including a moral standpoint.
Okay. Would anyone else like to respond?
Supporting that, I suppose, the history is church which was a female. Still maintains celibacy first, virgin first, peace. You get married out of it. And this is argument they will show you the church. This is related to the topic. Insofar as all male clergy decide what women can do. Unmarried males telling married females what to do. If you can have a meeting, try to get in, there has to be representation from the other side as well. And that does not happen here. And I find that getting out of the church, which I find, that is just one of the really things that God is no representation from me. So get out of the church and come into the secular world and find that my U.S. government, same thing, is excluding females from the market. If you're talking about women and talk about women anything, listen to the woman you will disagree with, at least with, whereas this is not the case.
When it comes down to women's rights, I believe that we should have the woman choose whether she wants an abortion or use contraceptives or not, because it's her body and she should be able to have a choice. But what if she didn't want kids? What if she doesn't have the means to raise kids? And it was just here telling her you kind of have a child, or that's not fair to her parent or her family or whoever she's supporting. And I mean, the moral basis is just it's her life, not yours. You are an older man or a female who's already had kids or doesn't want kids, and you get to choose her, but yet she makes it up-oh, and she has to that's her. Again, it's her choice. She wants to take care of it. You got what you got to do sometimes. It's just the fun moves that I guess. But you got to just stick to whoever makes that person, I keep going back to it, it's true. My religion is theism. And I believe in God, but that's it. It's just, I don't believe in the Bible, I don't believe in the Quran, any sacred text, anything that is man-written, because that's a biased point of view. And for me to say that, oh, she should have a child, or she should have a child, it's not up to me because I'm not that female. You should leave it up to that woman, and pretty much all there is to it.
Okay.
Said she made an uh-oh. Her uh-oh was having sex and not realizing that she could have a kid after that. She should take responsibility for what she did. You said it wouldn't be fair to make her have a child. I think it wouldn't be fair to kill that child and not even give that child an opportunity to have life in the first place. I think it's very ironic that in the U.S., if you destroy a bald eagle egg, you can be fined up to $10,000. This is a bald eagle egg not hatched. If you destroy it, you can get fined up to $10,000. Yet if you kill a human fetus, no one says a word. That's the country that we're living right now. You talked about women's rights earlier. There's a famous orator, a woman who speaks on behalf of against abortion. Her name is Jonna Jessen, and she's actually an abortion survivor. She was when she was in her mother's womb, her mother attempted a saline abortion on her, and they expected to be born dead. Turns out she was born alive. One of her famous quotes, she says, "If abortion is all about women's rights, what were mine?" If abortion is about women's rights, what about the female that's inside, that's not born? What makes it, sometimes the argument is they're not human. How does passing through a vaginal canal all of a sudden make you human? And if you haven't passed this checkpoint, you're not human. I don't get that argument. It's very sad that we, just because they're inside of a womb, all the genetic makeup is there. It doesn't matter how. If I can actually just read a quote from Peter Singer. He's an atheist. He's a philosopher. He says, if we compare a severely defective human infant with a non-human animal like a dog or a pig, we find that non-humans have superior capacities, both actual and potential in rationality, self-conscious, and communication. We give to infants and sick people mentally handicapped certain rights, yet no calf and pigs and chickens which come out ahead in sentient comprehension, anticipation, etc. What he's saying is that at this point in time that these pigs and these dogs are having a little bit more value than these unborn children. You talked earlier about humans having value and rights. Why can't they have those values before they exit the womb? They're still human. He also, Peter Singer, who is being a logically consistent atheist, who is for abortion, but check this, he's not just for abortion while it's still in the womb. He says a woman should even be able to make the choice up to 28 days after the baby's born. I don't see where we draw the line. If we're going to kill it while it's inside, why not kill it while it's outside? I think earlier the argument you're trying to make is that a baby could be a burden on the mother. What child is it? What child isn't a burden on any mother? That's the point of raising a kid. So I would say if you're not ready to have a kid, keep your legs closed. If you're not ready to support life, be careful what you do or be responsible, whatever your beliefs is. I'm sorry, but how is making a uh-oh justifiable to killing a human that's inside a womb? It makes no sense.
What about rape or incest?
Okay, two wrongs don't make a right. That's a very unfortunate event. If someone was raped, that's very unfortunate. There is, ironically, another guest speaker who she says I never knew my mother or my father. My father was a rapist. My mother was 17. But I'm glad that she gave me the opportunity to have life. I mean, it's very unfortunate she was raped. Very unfortunate situation, but I don't see where two wrongs make a right. I recommend counseling and whatnot, but I don't see how killing a baby because one wrong action was taken, how that's justifiable. Murder is murder.
We could probably have a whole nother roundtable on viability. I don't think it's a baby in the first trimester. In my opinion, that's my personal opinion.
Right.
Not shared perhaps by anybody else. So there, there is the I can't remember what it's called, but the viability, stage of viability. And so I don't think of it that way. And also to your point about damaging the egg, which is illegal, and you're fined $10,000. Abortion is not illegal. It is legal and has been since 1973.
How sad is that? That we would get punished for destroying an egg of an animal, but no one says anything about killing a human.
Well, then there should be a court case that protects those eggs, perhaps, if that's the way you feel. I mean, but the fact is that one is illegal and one is not legal.
And that makes it right. If it was legal to not let interracial couple marry, if it was illegal to have women vote, would that make it right?
I would lobby to make it so, to turn the tide in the direction.
But by your logic, because it was legal, it's okay.
It's more okay, because when you have illegal abortions, women die.
When you have regular abortions, baby die.
If you think of it as a baby, like I said, we could have a whole other debate about about the length of viability.
Yeah, let's move on to the third question, and I think that Eric had touched on it previously in his response to the first. Third question is, what conviction would stop another Pol Pot, Hitler, Mao, or Stalin to rise up and kill millions of people once again? Eric, you want to start off with this?
Pretty much basically like I was talking about earlier, if to the old Jewish man who was digging his own grave, he said, somebody's watching you, and the soldier said, just kind of laughed and shot him. I've heard atheists ask me, well, you're telling me that I need somebody to tell me what to do and what not to do. And I would say yes. If you look at history, that's exactly what we need. Why do we have police? Why do we have laws? Why do we have speed limits? Does anybody, don't raise your hand, but have you ever been speeding, or even you're not speeding, but when you see a cop, you slow down automatically? Is it because that you have a law for the state of Texas and its laws, or because you don't want to get a ticket? If there's no conviction, if there is no judgment in the afterlife, if I can go rape and kill and then just commit suicide, what was my punishment? I got away with it. And granted, I'm not saying that just because it makes us feel good that there's a God watching us. I realize that doesn't make it true, but we're talking about conviction here. Like David Berlinski said in his book, The Devil's Delusion, I wish somebody had thought that, I wish Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao, Stalin, all these atheist regimes, I wish they had believed that somebody was watching them. I wish they did believe that they would be punished for what they did. I wish they did believe that they had an answer for every action. The fact that there is a God lets us know that we are accountable for every single thing that we do. If there is no God, we're not accountable to anybody but ourselves. Jeffrey Dahmer, again, going back to him, he was relatively recent, he was a cannibal, he killed, he raped. He himself said, if there is no God, why should I adhere to your rules? Who owns me? I own myself. I make my own rules. And again, he's being logically consistent if there is no God. Well, it doesn't say not to judge. It says don't judge it critically. I don't believe I am. Well, I never said that. Okay, I would like to bring out a motive if it weren't true, but if you're, again, I said this in the beginning, I'm not saying that atheists are rapists and murderers. I'm saying that if there is no basis, what's to stop anybody from doing this? Now, if you want to look at history, even if it's unfortunate, if I'm an atheist and it's unfortunate this is a history, that doesn't make it go away. That a lot of the atheist regimes killed by the millions. I believe Pol Pot within 3 years killed 2.5 million people and thought nothing wrong of it. And again, I'm not saying all atheists do this. I'm saying as the philosophy, as atheism goes, in that philosophy, there's nothing logically inconsistent with it.
Christians have killed many people as atheists.
That's not true. Right? There's actually, if you look at history, Christians add up to maybe the few thousand. The Salem witch trials, which everybody likes to bring out, under 25 people were killed. But again, you look at Pol Pot. In 3 years, 2.5 million. I don't think you compare belief. I believe so. Again, he didn't believe that there was nothing to stop him. That's the point of the question. What conviction would stop anybody? Again, if you look at history, it shows the numbers speak for themselves. And again, these Christians or these believers that claim they kill in the name of God, you can't blame, I reiterate once again, you cannot blame rebellious Christians on Christianity. And you can't blame God. Again, I would use the analogy, it's like me blaming the laws of arithmetic for failing my math test. Well, I have to hold them accountable. Everybody's held accountable. Sure. And my point is only, back to the question, what conviction would stop them? By their philosophy, which would make it subjective, and if nobody has a conscience, that nobody's watching you, there is no consequence, there's nothing to stop you.
You're stereotyping all atheists as being, well, not all atheists, you're saying all killers are atheists.
I never said that either.
You're confusing it, and then it's not, you don't have to have religion to know what's wrong, what's right.
I believe it.
You can have empathy, which is knowing, oh, well, if you're that person, what if like if I was like someone just came up and said out of nowhere, you don't have to believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to know that, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't kill this person. And just because they're atheists doesn't mean, oh, I don't believe in anything, so I'm going to go off and kill things because I don't have a right or wrong, and I don't know like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go kill somebody because there's no one who's there to stop me when I die.
Well, that's what a lot of people believe. And again, I'm not being stereotypical, I'm using history. I don't see that as being stereotypical. And again, I'm reiterating, and I sound redundant, I'm sure, like a broken record. I'm not saying atheists do this, I'm saying these atheists that did do this were not being logically inconsistent. They would wake up, Hitler was against abortion, yet he killed Jewish babies by the thousands. Why? Because he did not believe that Jewish people were humans. When Darwinian evolution, they were trying to really advance this theory of Darwinian evolution. People would literally leave Europe, go to Australia, and there was a village and a group of people called the Aborigines, I believe, the Australian Aborigines. And what they would do is, when you use your jaw a lot, like a tool, your eyebrow ridge begins to grow a lot more. The more you use your muscles and your bones, the more they grow. They looked at these African American, dark-colored people, Aborigines, and they said, these look like unevolved primates. Here's an idea. Let's kill them, skin them, boil them, and use their skulls and put them in museums and say this is proof for evolution. Why? Because they weren't human. In their philosophy and their belief, these people aren't human. These people have no rights, just like a baby would have a right because it's not human. That is the philosophy of some atheists, is that if they're not human, why can't I kill them? If I kill a deer, why can't I kill an African American who I don't believe is human?
The 30 Years' War was fought between Catholics and Protestants, and approximately 11 million people died. So that's part
Because they were religious doesn't mean they were religion. I can fight with someone that's not a Christian doesn't mean they were religion.
It was about
I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about it, but just because they're religious doesn't mean it was over religion.
in this case, it was.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
If you want to check it out. And then the other point I was going to make was, of the four people that we've been talking about, Pol Pot, Hitler, Mao, and so on, yes, Hitler considered himself a Catholic and thought he was doing the Lord's work, and that's a quote. And I think that Pol Pot and Mao were actually Buddhist, and the reason, Stalin really was the only true atheist among them. The reason that they got rid of religion was because they recognized that religion was keeping people together, and they recognized that the power and charisma of religion, if they did away with that, they could take that place and become the deity for those people, and that's how they ruled. So I think it was more about power and less about religion, especially for Mao and Pol Pot.
Well, again, they didn't. If they wanted to make themselves seem like God, that doesn't mean that they believe in God. And if Hitler claimed that's an argument again in itself. Hitler used religion as propaganda. He used, just like anyone else, but just like politicians, they use religion to say, "Back me up because I'm doing the Lord's will." But you'll never find in the Bible where it says, "Kill all the Jewish people." So again, I have to go back and repeating myself. You can't blame rebellious Christians on Christianity. If that is the case that he claims to be doing God's will, we'd have to chastise him and say that is not biblical what you're doing. So I don't say you can blame that on Christianity about what he did.
Is the fear of the unknown, or fear of being alone in the universe, did this result in the creation of a God to fight these fears?
I don't believe that's true, because I believe that everyone knows, or at least has that feeling that they need something to believe in. But the knowledge is just becoming. But if you believe that, then again, that's the answer, because the answer is there's no right or wrong answer to this question. It's a very open-ended question. I'm sure he said, "Oh, of course, well, no, he said, of course not, because God created that, and he created fear, and all that jazz." But, I mean, I believe that at least one point in time, there was just a bunch of humans walking around, just like, "Oh, there's no such thing as anything, it's just us." And then somebody with a great idea was like, "Hey, I'm sure we came from somewhere, right?" Which got everyone questioning. But for me, I know that I was raised to believe that there was Jesus is our Lord and Savior, and that there is a God. But I just didn't agree with a book that was written by men, that was over decades for random people to write what they believed in. So, I mean, no.
Ron?
I think it's how it all started back there. I wasn't there around, so. Just I don't know about what happened. I could live in here and find that if question there isn't a God at all. Are we start killing each other? Or are they saying, gee, how do we start surviving now? That's why I say survival is the main bottom line. And even if God calls us not to kill one another, why does God tell us that? Because he was a bully, pushes us. Just because, it's kind of good to look at. So, if there's no God, we have to do the things that we think God is so good about doing. Seems to me. And that's people's business. That's the problem.
Lauren?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say yes. That a fear of the unknown or a fear of being alone is why humans created God, and I think that's also why people pray. It gives them a sense of well-being, of hopefully manifesting whatever it is they pray about. I think it can also be a crutch for some people, not everybody, not all Christians, but I think some use it as a crutch, and it allows them to kind of engage in magical thinking. But yeah, I think definitely fear of the unknown. And I see it especially, as my parents have aged, and my mother in particular, as she has aged, has become more religious. And I really think it is that fear of what's going to happen when it's all over with. And so perhaps she's kind of hedging her bets and becoming more religious just in case.
Okay, thank you. Eric, we're all curious to know.
I love how everybody follows what I'm going to say. There's, in philosophy, there's something called the genetic fallacy, which is to say that if I can show how a belief originated, that doesn't make it true, which is a logical fallacy to say just because I know how something came about, that makes it not true. For example, if I went to a third world country where people believe that the world was flat, and I put a gun to their head and said, you better believe the world is round, and they say, okay, we believe it, does that make it not true? Of course not. So even if a belief in God did originate out of fear, that doesn't make it not true. However, I don't believe that a belief in God originated out of fear. Again, I believe in the beginning God. I believe there's God from the beginning, from day one, there's God here. Ron, I believe, keeps bringing up the question of theodicy in philosophy, which is the problem of evil and suffering. And that could be another debate for another time, but technically everybody has free will, and God is such a gentleman that he says, I will let you do what you want and I won't interfere. Even if that means you're going to harm somebody else, I give you the liberty to take responsibility for yourself. I believe God is such a gentleman that he gives everybody the right to choose what they want. C.S. Lewis so eloquently put it, he said, God is such a fair God that in the end he will give everybody what they want, including freedom from himself. What could be more fair? So if an atheist wants nothing to do with God, and I believe all things that are good came from God, so there's joy, peace, happiness. If you reject God, you can't technically say that you can have that. It's like going to a communistic country and claiming to be a U.S. citizen and trying to claim the rights of a U.S. citizen in another country. So for an atheist to say that, well, I want nothing to do with God and then complain about evil and suffering, I don't see how that's logically consistent. True, as Christians, we suffer. Again, we live in a fallen world. The Bible tells us we live in a world that's not perfect. We live in a world of sin. We live in a world where there's rape, murder, and whatnot. That has nothing to do with the existence of God. Dave kept bringing up, talking about the Bible written by people. Well, of course it was written by people. Who else would it be written by? If I wrote an eloquent poem, and I wrote it with this pen, that doesn't mean that the poem is invalid or not true or wasn't written by me because I used a tool. Even though this pen technically wrote it, I still was the hand behind the writing. Just as I believe that God inspired humans to write the Bible. So that, again, has no validity to say that the Bible's wrong because humans wrote it. It'd be the equivalent of saying my poetry isn't good because the pen wrote it. That's logically inconsistent as well. She says that belief in God is like a crutch to us. I could use the same argument with her and say her disbelief in God is a crutch to her so she can do what she wants. I wouldn't use that argument, but I'm showing the fallacy in what she's saying. She's saying that I believe in God because it makes me feel good. I could say she doesn't believe in God because it makes her feel good too. That holds no weight or validity to what we're trying to say or talk about.
Any other responses? Dave?
So you're saying that if I write a book saying how to kill people, what you're saying, and I say, oh, God inspired me to write this book, I could use that excuse and say that's okay.
I never said that. Let's talk about the Bible. You said so many people wrote in it as if they're being capricious and just different points of view. But if you actually look at the Bible and study how the Bible came about, what's really interesting is that there were many different authors who never met each other, yet they're saying the same thing about this guy. That is very ironic and improbable for so many people on different parts of the world to write the same thing about a God that they spoke to and have consistency throughout the Bible. Somebody might bring up an inconsistency in the Bible, which we can talk about another time as well, but I'm saying, theologically speaking, we look and we see from Genesis all the way to Revelation, there's consistency with people who never even met each other.
Yeah, well, let's bring up the inconsistencies. You said so.
Okay, like what?
Okay, there's parts of the Bible that does contradict itself. I mean, of course, you wouldn't want to even...
Give me one.
Give me one, yeah, of course you would.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't know.
I'll learn from my Bible.
Well, what can we talk about that? Okay, sure. Again, this is the final question that I'd like the panelists to talk, and then we'll open it up to the audience for you to ask questions. How would you answer the question, what is the meaning of life? And again, it's one of those big, broad, philosophical questions. How would you answer the question, what is the meaning of life? Dave.
It's staying true to yourself and not only making yourself happy, but making the people around you like being who you are. And that being who you are is not studying the book to be who you are, to find who you are. It's knowing who you are inside. You don't have to believe in something that is like that's touchable. You don't have to believe in something that's so tangible that you have to pick it up and read it to find out who you are inside. I don't believe that. I believe that the meaning of life is simply doing what you have to do and what you know is right. And it's not to say that, oh, what you think is right is murdering people. No, because you know that's not right. It's, again, loving yourself and who you are.
I almost can add to what Ron and Dave said because it very much meshes with my own worldview about what the meaning of life is. I think that striving to be involved in life, striving to involve other people in your life, knowledge of yourself and other people all lead to an understanding, a larger understanding, if you will, and life fulfillment. And I think that the here and now is the best place to be, and we need to enjoy that and be useful in our lives. And I know useful is a very, arbitrary kind of term, but Ron spoke to some of those things. Keeping each other healthy, being good to each other, loving each other in the global sense. And I know we're having a kumbaya moment here. But in all seriousness, I do think that that's what the meaning of life is, at least for me. It's all of those things.
Good, thank you. Eric?
I really do agree with her, I really do. But I hate to sound like a broken record again. There is no basis for that, and we've established that at least some of our panelists here believe it's all subjective. Because these are very broad statements that they made, and I know they mean well by them. But for example, if I want to strive to be involved, what if my definition of striving to be involved means that I propagate my genes by raping everybody? It makes me happy. If Dave said, whatever makes you happy. What if what makes me happy is killing myself because I believe that I'm worth nothing, I'm good to nobody, so what makes me happy is killing myself? All I'm saying is that what basis is there for any of these? These are great things. But to say that there's evil in the world is to presuppose, or to say that there's good in the world, presupposes that there could be evil, or there could be good and vice versa. C.S. Lewis said, how can I call any line crooked unless I know what a straight line looks like? And if we don't know what a straight line looks like, how can we call anything good or bad? How can we say that anything is good, anything is bad? It's all subjective. It's all arbitrary. In other words, it's all my opinion. If me being happy means I kill everybody, then so be it. That's my opinion. If me being happy means I rape everybody, that's my opinion. If we have no ruler to draw a straight line, how do we know what anything is crooked? So again, I really do agree with what they said. We should be doing all these things, but from a Christian point of view, there needs to be a basis for it. And I believe that basis is God. If there is no God, there is no objective morality. From a theistic theological point of view, when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, he said, love the Lord God with all your heart, and the second was to love your neighbor as yourself. All that encompasses being amicable with each other, being kind to each other and whatnot, do unto others as you have them do unto you, and all these things. If I'm going to love God with all my heart, I'm not going to do anything to break God's heart, which would include throwing rocks at my brother, like my colleague here said, or which would include killing somebody, doing something that I should not do. He gave 10 commandments for a reason, because we do need to be told what to do. You look at history, you look at a baby, they don't know what to do unless you teach them. And like Ron said here, we're stupid people sometimes. We need to be told what to do. I fully agree. That's why I'm glad that earlier somebody, I think it was Lori, said that Christianity teaches if you're good, you'll go to heaven. That's not the case. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The Bible doesn't teach if you're good, you'll go to heaven, because the Bible says nobody is good. I take a shower when I'm dirty, not when I'm clean. And the very reason I am a Christian is my public profession that I am not good, that I am imperfect, that I am not good on my own, that I need outside help. Thus, I claim to be a Christian, not because I'm good, not because I'm perfect, but because I admit that I'm flawed. Like Ron said, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I make mistakes. I need a moral lawgiver to teach me what a moral law is. Earlier someone was saying, I don't need to believe in God to be good. I agree. I believe that God has put a conscience in each and every one of us. That is our moral compass. But if we have a crooked moral compass, then how can we say it's a crooked line if we don't know what a straight line looks like? Unfortunately, people aren't good. We need something. We need redemption. We need a Savior. As cliche and Christian as that sounds, we need a Savior. We need someone to show us what's good and what's right. And I don't mean to start preaching and quoting Bible verses, but I firmly believe that there is a God that loves each and every one of you. And then He wants what's best for you. But apart from God, what can we say anything's crooked if we don't know what a straight line looks like? I'm reminded of the story of David when he went to take food to his brothers when he was going to fight Goliath. Well, prior to this, he went to take food to his brothers. And Goliath would confront the Israelites and say, is there anybody that would fight me? One day David goes up to the front lines and he sees Goliath taunting these believers. And David looks at the soldiers and says, why isn't nobody doing anything? Aren't we the children of God? Why are we fearing this uncircumcised Philistine? In other words, why are we letting someone who knows nothing about our God put us down? And his brothers were like, you're just being cocky, you're being irrational, go back home. Why'd you come? You came to see a fight? So he goes to the king and says, look, king, nobody wants to fight him. Nobody's stepping up. I will do it. If nobody else is going to do it, I'll step up. Although I'm not trained to fight, I'm not a trained soldier, I don't know necessarily how to use a sword and shield. In fact, Solomon gave him his armor and he said, I can't walk with this. But he said, but just as the Lord showed me previously how to kill the lion, how to kill the bear, I'm going to kill this Philistine. And I at the time, I just started to study, not necessarily because I necessarily felt like there was a calling or anything like that specifically, but because it felt like nobody else was doing it. Ideally, when I do debate, I don't necessarily, my goal isn't necessarily to convert the people I'm debating with, although that would be ideal, it would be great. But the main purpose is the people that are listening in. I would like them to know and see that you can have a rational, logical reason to believe what you do believe. There are people out there that defend the faith. The reason a lot of times Christians don't step up is because they don't think anybody's progressing in a positive way. It's all a lost cause. So when they see somebody logically and confidently defending their faith, it gives them courage to say, maybe I can be proud to be a Christian. Maybe I do have a reason to believe what I believe. And if I can accomplish that much to strengthen someone's faith and stop them from backsliding or anything like that, I feel I've done my job.